So Pam Bondi has said that we're not allowed to engage in hate speech anymore. I hate tyranny. I hate abuse of power. I hate that there are politicians who pass policies that take money away from people who desperately need it to give it to people who absolutely don't. I hate corruption, and what I hate the most of all is government corruption. I hate union busting, and I hate any policy that hurts working people. I hate lies that are used for self-serving aims. I hate propaganda. I hate hypocrisy. I hate gaslighting. I hate anybody who preys on children or makes children less safe or protects people who do those things. I hate when politicians take religions based on love and use them to justify hateful acts. I hate cowardice.
Attorney General Pam Bondi just said that people should be prosecuted for hate speech following Charlie Kirk's death. Check this out.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything, and that's across the...
Which is very ironic because Charlie Kirk once tweeted this: "She dodges sniper fire." I wonder who almost 9 years ago first started making assassination jokes and normalizing this behavior.
Hillary wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. By the way, and if she gets to pick her judges, nothing you can do, folks. Although the Second Amendment people, maybe there is, I don't know. But
oh right, it was Donald Trump hinting that gun owners could take care of Hillary Clinton if she won. And then Katie Miller has the nerve to blame the shooting on people using words like this. Katie, have you listened to your own president recently, or your husband?
American politics today is between these far-left fascists led by Harris and her group. We have a fascist person running who's incompetent. She's a Marxist, communist, fascist, socialist. She's not actually a socialist. She's gone past that. Somebody's got to explain this one. There's a radical left, Marxist, communist, fascist.
Better start lawyering up, MAGA. Pammy is coming for you.
Attorney General Pam Bondi has said that the government will prosecute hate speech, which is interesting because, as most of us know, speech, including hate speech, is a constitutionally protected right that we have. It is the First Amendment. It is the right to free speech. And I'm the first to say I hate when people talk free speech, free speech. I know what free speech means. I know that I can be censored at any time, if I'm in a workplace, if I am, on Facebook, I am on TikTok, any of those things. I understand that this is a constitutionally protected amendment, that the government cannot silence and censor what I'm saying in the form of prosecuting me, arresting me and charging me and things like that. So now that Pam Bondi is saying that the government is going to start prosecuting people for their First Amendment right is insane.
Family, after the death of Charlie Kirk, we've seen people react differently in the internet. And right now, white folks are calling out Attorney General Pam Bondi for saying that people should be prosecuted for hate speech after the Charlie Kirk fallout, after many people reacted negatively about the death of Charlie Kirk. Right now, Attorney General Pam Bondi is calling for the prosecution of people for their hate speech. And family, funny enough, is that Charlie Kirk in his lifetime has always, been a person, a pioneer of free speech. And at some point, he also tweeted about hate speech, saying that it is protected by the First Amendment, the Constitution of the United States of America. Right now, Attorney General Pam Bondi is having a rude awakening. Many folks are now just calling her out, telling her that that is unacceptable. Some of them are also calling out for her resignation, saying that there is no way that a sitting Attorney General can want to tamper with the Constitution of America. So family, I want you to watch this video as many white folks call out Attorney General Pam Bondi. Once the video is done, we will get back and do a critical analysis about the same. And family, in a special way, I want to thank my subscribers for supporting me through buying me a coffee. The link is on the description box down below. Let's watch this video, then.
Is it now the conservative position that hate speech is illegal? Because Attorney General Pam Bondi said in an interview yesterday that the DOJ will target people for hate speech. And I just need to remind you of a Charlie Kirk tweet where he railed against the notion that hate speech even existed in the legal framework and that even wrong and evil speech must be protected. Okay, Pam made these comments yesterday in the heat of the moment during a podcast. She further clarified today what the position of the DOJ is, which is, according to the law, hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence isn't protected by the First Amendment, and she cited the specific laws that says that. Okay, but the president himself seems to have a very loose definition of what type of speech should be prosecuted. When asked today, he suggested that media outlets are engaging in hate speech by being unfair to him, and maybe they should be prosecuted. I mean, this is why Charlie urged for the legality of hate speech as tyrants, like what it seems Trump is doing now, weaponize the term to silence and make dissent illegal. Okay, if you haven't figured out Trump by now, let me help. He enjoys playing with the minds of people like you and the media, and you need to watch what he does, not what he says. His Attorney General clarified what kind of hate speech they will go after, which is clear incitement of violence. She gives examples of calling for someone's murder, or swatting members of Congress, or doxing a conservative family. These happen and remain illegal, and DOJ will focus on prosecuting them. Okay, yeah, let's just straight up dismiss the words coming out of the president's mouth because he's a big jokester, right? A jokester who just yesterday announced another lawsuit against another media organization in the New York Times. I mean, it's clear from his words and actions and from his Attorney General that they are trying to do whatever possible to silence dissent. And I'm sorry, but Charlie, who according to you champion free speech, would be furious. Do not use Charlie's name to advance your cause. Trump, who Charlie was instrumental in electing, is exercising his right, which any citizen has, to file defamation lawsuits in a court of law against media organizations. And all his AG is saying is rhetoric that is truly threatening in nature is not allowed. Like you liberals always love to say, the Second Amendment is not absolute. Well, neither is the First. You can't scream bomb in an airport. Well, I think they should stop demonizing hate speech and read some Supreme Court rulings that have consistently said things like, quote, the proudest boast of America's free speech tradition is freedom for the thought that we hate. Yeah, I mean, I think you're forgetting the Attorney General clarified her statement and Trump is playing with your mind. I mean, the Constitution will continue to be followed. We can only hope.
Yeah, Pam Bondi needs to stand down on this one.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society. We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Hate speech is protected by the United States Constitution, and I'm that guy. I want to be able to say whatever I want, whenever I want. Now, of course, there's some exceptions to that, inciting violence and things like that. Understand that's different, but hate speech is protected. You may not like what somebody else says. They might not like what you say, but that is something that is constitutionally protected. I know I just said that. See, now I'm on TikTok, and TikTok is different. That's their app. They can do what they want. But whatever I say on here, the police aren't going to come knocking on my door like they do in the UK. They're going to let me say what I want as far as the law goes. Now, these apps may shut you down here and there, and it's something we just got to deal with. I don't own the app, so I can't really have a say-so on it. But when it comes to this speech, Pam Bondi, you need to simmer down, young lady. That is not how we do things. I may not be like others. I'm going to call my administration out when they do something like this. Do better, Pam Bondi.
Wow, we finally found the thing that unites Americans, and guess who it is? Pam Bondi. It turns out that virtually no one in America likes her or her position on free speech. Who would have thunk it?
Disaster for Pam Bondi, and therefore I'm Donald Trump. I'm just going, what the heck is going on here? You know, take a look here. Weekly Google searches for free speech. Get this. Up like a rocket, up 186% versus the 5-year average. I went back and looked at every single week. More folks are searching for free speech this week on Google than any week in at least 5 years. And of course, not surprisingly, who's the top trending topic with free speech? Well, it's Pam Bondi, of course. People are taking her comments, looking it up, interested in it. And as you saw from that Wall Street Journal editorial, they ain't liking it too much from the left to the right. Take a look here. The net popularity of Trump cabinet members. Look who has the lowest number on your screen right here that I could find. Look how far underwater Pam Bondi is at minus 19 points. Now, none of the folks on your screen here are in positive territory, but none of them are as far underwater as Pam Bondi at minus 19 points. Of course, RFK Jr. has been in the news recently, too, but he's well above where Pam Bondi is. He's at minus 7 points. She is more than 10 points more underwater than RFK Jr. is. She is, at least by the numbers that I'm looking at, the least liked member of Donald Trump's cabinet, and it ain't even close.
I mean, ouch. Turns out the American people really don't like someone who, first of all, continues to cover up for rich and powerful men who are sex traffickers, and then second of all, comes after the most cherished right in America, our constitutional right to freedom of speech. When you come after that, well, it turns out Americans can agree to agree on how much we do not like this particular member of the Trump administration. Oh, and by the way, if I can save you the Google search, here you go. I'm so glad to know that everyone in America wants to keep this right around. Don't you love it when we all come together like this?
MAGA World is pushing back hard on Trump's attorney general for these statements, and I could not be more proud.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
Hey, so that's crazy coming out of the mouth of an attorney general. And you can say whatever you want about MAGA World, but one thing they do not play on is free speech. They came for her head. They are literally calling for her to resign over this. Clinton Russell said Pam Bondi using the phrase hate speech should be considered a resignation letter. She needs to go. Completely unacceptable. Another person said Charlie Kirk literally died defending the principle that Pam Bondi is trashing. Just unreal. And he included an old tweet of Charlie's where he wrote, hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment, which is constitutionally and legally correct. Sink from the Young Turk said, you have to give credit to the right for staying principled on hate speech. Whenever anyone is in power, all of a sudden they start talking about hate speech because it's such an obvious way to shut down dissent. But when Pam Bondi suggested it, the right pushed back. Nice job. I also thought it was hilarious that a video circulating on Twitter of Pam Bondi's comments got community noted. Literally random people on Twitter understand the law and the Constitution better than our current AG does. After the public backlash, Bondi did try to walk back her statements. Her office told Axios that they will not be prosecuting or investigating anyone for alleged hate speech, only for speech that she says unlawfully incites violence. Notably, while all of MAGA World got this right and stood up to Bondi, Trump himself did not see any issues with her initial statements.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
You'll probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million for a form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you.
So probably keep an eye on him too.
She said this, quote, we will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech. There's free speech and there's hate speech. And there's no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie. Now, to be clear, as any conservative will tell you, and certainly most liberals will tell you, there is, in fact, no hate speech provision in the Constitution. There's nothing in the First Amendment that bans hate speech. In fact, the tenet of free speech that's so ill understood, apparently by Pam Bondi and by a lot of the public, is free speech is not designed to protect speech with which you agree. Free speech is designed to protect speech with which you disagree.
Attorney General Pam Bondi has said that the government will prosecute hate speech, which is interesting because, as most of us know, speech, including hate speech, is a constitutionally protected right that we have. It is the First Amendment. It is the right to free speech. And I'm the first to say I hate when people talk free speech, free speech. I know what free speech means. I know that I can be censored at any time, if I'm in a workplace, if I am, on Facebook, I am on TikTok, any of those things. I understand that this is a constitutionally protected amendment, that the government cannot silence and censor what I'm saying in the form of prosecuting me, arresting me and charging me and things like that. So now that Pam Bondi is saying that the government is going to start prosecuting people for their First Amendment right, is insane. She did say that it will apply to both sides of the aisle, but at the end of the day, first of all, we would see if anybody would be arrested, charged, and those kind of things. And I can't imagine that it would be fair on both sides of the aisle when we do have a president who loves to run his mouth, doesn't seem to have a filter, and he has called for violence before. So what is hate speech? Is it celebrating someone's death? Is it calling for death of somebody? Is it using racist, xenophobic, transphobic, bigoted, language? Like, what is that? We do know, like I said, as long as you are not inciting violence against another person, your hate speech is your constitutionally protected speech.
So Pam Bondi has said that we're not allowed to engage in hate speech anymore. So I thought I would just get mine out of my system so that after this I don't have to do it. I hate tyranny. I hate abuse of power. I hate that there are politicians who pass policies that take money away from people who desperately need it to give it to people who absolutely don't. I hate corruption, and what I hate the most of all is government corruption. I hate union busting, and I hate any policy that hurts working people. I hate lies that are used for self-serving aims. I hate propaganda. I hate hypocrisy. I hate gaslighting. I hate anybody who preys on children or makes children less safe or protects people who do those things. I hate when politicians take religions based on love and use them to justify hateful acts. I hate cowardice with the heat of 1,000 suns. I hate when people take an oath to the Constitution and then violate it. I hate that in this country we have to worry about losing our health care and going into medical debt if we get sick. I hate that there are tens of millions of children in this country who wake up hungry. That I hate. I hate that Americans have to take on massive unspeakable debt to just get a higher education. I hate political violence, and I hate that there are people who exploit it for personal ends. I hate scapegoating. I hate that there are so many people who want to divide us. I hate corporate greed. I hate billionaire greed. I hate that my kid says they have to have a cell phone in school because what happens if there's a shooting and they can't reach me? I hate loyalty tests. I hate that we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on our elections, but our public schools are crumbling. I hate book bans. I hate that there are people who can only govern by inciting fear or hate. Oh, did I mention I hate attacks on my constitutionally protected right to free speech? And if you hate these things too, solidarity. Remember, there are more of us than there are of them.
So after watching Pam Bondi yesterday articulate these points that hate speech is limited and is not allowed under the Constitution, it's obvious that a good number of Americans do not understand what the First Amendment is. So these need to be responded to. And I would just kind of make 4 points in light of what happened last week and all the things that are happening since then. The first thing is that the First Amendment of this country guarantees that the federal government cannot restrict or prohibit the freedom of speech, along with the other 4 guarantees of the First Amendment: the press, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom of petition, and freedom of assembly. No law can be made by the federal government to basically say that Americans can't say something. That is guaranteed from the founders in 1791. The Constitution was passed first. Then in 1787, then in 1791, 4 years later, the Bill of Rights was passed, and the First Amendment to the Constitution, among the first 10, it led with this guarantee for those 5 rights. Secondly, hate speech is protected by the United States Constitution and the First Amendment. Pamela Bondi is wrong when she says there is hate speech is not allowed. It simply is. The Constitution grants a very powerful test, and that it is, no matter how vile, no matter how disgusting, no matter how hurtful, offensive it may be, the Constitution grants a broad test to say, if it protects the least of us who have the most random, obscure, unpopular thoughts, the more that all of us are protected in our majority thoughts, whatever we feel like is strong, that we have to be able to protect the minority in whatever they feel like, because that is what a free expression of society is all about. What is hateful speech? Look, we've seen it. We've seen it all over. I would say that people can argue, all the parties involved in the last 2-3 weeks, that there's been hateful speech all around, and it has to stop. Well, we need to make it stop from ourselves. It can't stop from a test applied or a ban passed by the government. It has to be within us to have more speech and to guarantee that we can say more in rebuttal to those awful ideas that are shared. It's upon us to say, and we have the responsibility to say those things, not the government. Thirdly, while hate speech is protected by the Constitution, there are certain things that limit the scope or the ability it may have and can hold people accountable. Two instances are libel and defamation. If I say something hateful, cruel, wrong, I can be sued by that in a private case, not in a public case. In the public, if I say something that the courts will say is an incitement to imminent lawless action, that's the terminology that we now exist with, is if it's an imminent lawless action that is applied or being stated, the government may have a responsibility to prosecute, to jail, to investigate somebody that does that. And we see that all the time in our world today with social media posts and the Secret Service perhaps going after people who make a vocal threat in a certain way. Those things do have a standard in our country. My fourth point is that the Constitution's First Amendment does not necessarily apply in other forums such as your employment, your associations with groups, churches, the neighborhood HOA, whatever it may be. Just because you want to say something, you say something, doesn't mean other groups can't hold you accountable for that speech. The biggest thing here is your employment. I think that's what we're seeing. Even news organizations are somehow taking which usually celebrate free speech, are taking the tack that goes too far, that's not allowed. And is that legal? Is that ethical? Those are all different questions. But what you say, and is protected by the First Amendment, is not necessarily protected in the world of free enterprise and in capitalism. You can be held accountable for those things. And whether that just depends on which forum you want to be part of and which employment you wish to have. Is that censorship? I would argue that it is, but censorship in many ways is legal, and there's no justification in every case that you can claim the First Amendment.
Family, it's funny how people in the Trump cabinet want to take the Constitution as something they can play with. We are seeing them day in, day out, wake up in the morning, including Trump himself, and forget about the Constitution that protects Americans at large. And family, this is not right. There's no way a sitting Attorney General of all seats in the government of the United States of America waking up and saying that freedom of speech is not a thing moving forward. I understand that hate speech is actually protected. The fact that people have different views from whatever you want them to say doesn't mean that whatever they say is against the law. Hate speech is actually protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. You know, the only thing that myself I deem wrong, could be inciting violence. Inciting violence against other people, specifically different groups of people, would mean differently. That one I am against. But having hate speech, saying that is unconstitutional and that you will prosecute people, speaking differently from whatever you think they should, that is just unacceptable. Family, we've seen many circumstances, even the president himself hurling hate speeches. We've seen the president talk about issues that will be deemed as hate. Does it mean that the president of the United States of America should be prosecuted now that the law wants to shift? We've seen Charlie Kirk himself, the person the Attorney General is trying to protect, with people reacting differently about his death. advocating for the same hate speech, saying that that is protected by the very First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. You know, seeing Pam Bondi speak, you know, just makes many Americans wonder, how is she even in the office as the Attorney General of the United States of America? Because that does not make any sense. So right now, white folks are calling out Attorney General Pam Bondi for saying that people should be prosecuted for hate speech after the Charlie Kirk's death. It's very ironic that right now they want to go after people while Charlie Kirk himself posted messages of hate. You know, Trump himself for years has always spoken, you know, about hate speeches. Some time back, he spoke that gun owners could take care of Hillary Clinton, you know, if she won. You know, is that a speech that you expect a president to talk about? But at the same time, he was protected, you know, by the very Constitution. I do not understand how the one time that people utter their speech, talk about things that MAGAs, you know, don't want, it's becoming an issue. The far righters are now feeling bad that people are talking against the life of Charlie Kirk, and that is not sitting well with them. That's why we are seeing Attorney General trying to force the law and prosecute people who talk, you know, about hate speeches. Hate speech is actually protected by the Constitution. Inciting violence is different, but hate speech is protected. You may not like what somebody says, you know, but that does not mean that they are against the law. Some people are calling for her resignation. Charlie Kirk himself tweeted in May 2nd of 2024, you know, saying, and I quote, "Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There is ugly speech, there is gross speech, there is evil speech, and all of it is protected by the very First Amendment of our Constitution." These are the words of Charlie Kirk on his tweet of May 2nd, 2024. So you're trying to fight, you know, to defend somebody who actually posted, you know, a tweet on his X, you know, defending the very same freedom of expression that you're trying to deny Americans. Family, this does not sit well with many people. And I know very, very well that wherever Attorney General Pam Bondi is in right now, she's highly regretting of her actions, because that I'd say that came from emotions. That came from whatever she felt at the time. But as a leader, you should not argue with your emotions. You must argue with logic. What does the Constitution say? You know, what happens once somebody goes against the Constitution? Those are things that I was expecting, you know, a whole Attorney General to talk about, not argue about how they felt in certain times. Because family, different feelings would bring different emotions and would lead to people articulating issues differently. But for a leader, you should actually always act with logic. And that is why many Americans are now calling her out. And that is unacceptable. Family, let me know in the comment box down below what you think about this very topic by the Attorney General trying, you know, to prosecute hate speech in America today. Kindly like the video so that it can be recommended to other YouTube users, and I'd be very, very grateful. Lastly, I'd highly appreciate if you all took your time to subscribe to the channel. We are currently on the road to 50,000 subscribers, and I'd really appreciate if you all would be a part of the journey. Right now we are at 29,000 subscribers, and guys, I'd really pray and hope that after this video we shall hit 30,000 subscribers and we'll be 20,000 less to our 50,000 followers mark. Thank you so much for the love and support, and even for watching this video all the way to the end. Thank you, and see you all in our next episode. Goodbye for now.